Welcome back to the Real Talk with Elliott series. This is one of my most favorite things that I get to do because I engage with my audience and try as best I can to answer their questions in a way that makes their lives better. So if you want me to answer one of your questions, please comment on this video, contact me on social media, send me an email, you can send me a text message, whatever, but I get excited about answering your questions. And today's question comes from Ellen Sherman, who asks, I give in to my fears too much. How can I reduce this behavior? Ellen, that is a really, really good question. People ask me about overcoming fear all of the time, and I have a reputation for being fearless. But I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm going to be very vulnerable with you, and I'm going to tell you I'm not fearless at all. What I've learned to do is to be aware of my fear and yet do things that scare me anyway. In fact, I get excited about things that scare me because that's when you learn, that's when you grow, and that's when you truly understand what your capabilities are. And at least for me, I've gone way beyond what I thought I could do. So I guess the best piece of advice I can give you is be aware of your fear, but also know that once I conquer this, I will land in a place that I could not have one day envisioned. And I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. When I was in graduate school, I was really, really scared. So school has always been a challenge for me. When I was in high school, it was really, really hard. Because of my home life, it wasn't an appropriate environment to get good grades, and to put it lightly. And college was the same. I didn't have enough money to buy books, and early part of college, things were still going on with my dad. I mean, it was just a real tough time. And somehow I got into graduate school, and I remember the professor telling me, or the director of the program saying that in graduate school you have to get all A's and B's, and I hadn't done that, for all those reasons, and I was scared. I was so afraid of doing this, and I will never forget. I took a class by a woman named Dr. Lisa Hensley. And Dr. Lisa Hensley taught this really hard class. She taught child development. It was in the first semester of grad school, and she had a really difficult way of teaching us. I mean, she was a wonderful professor, but she was the type of professor where all the exams were all essay, and you had to take notes the whole class. You know what I mean? Real hard professor. And the first test was the hardest test I had ever seen. It was all essay, and this was now kids type their tests, but we would handwrite. And you guys remember when you would handwrite an all essay test, and by the end your hand can't even feel your hand. And this was seriously the hardest test ever. It took way more. The class was 3 hours long. No one finished in 3 hours. We were all there half an hour late. The next week, come back to class, and she's graded our exams, and she's giving them back, and I'm nervous, man. I'm scared to death. And she hands them all out, and she gives me my paper. She puts it face down. I lift it up, and I got a 78. And I was crushed because I need all A's and B's. I have to get A's and B's if I'm going to stay in this program and graduate with a master's degree in counseling. I have to do that. And here I am. I got a C on one of the very first tests I take in graduate school. And then as I'm looking at my paper, crushed, I hear everybody else kind of rumbling. There was 44 people in that class, and I hear everybody else rumbling. I hear everybody else, mumbling, bumbling about the grades they got. And I start hearing things I got a 40 and I got a 50. I start hearing all these things, and of the 44 people, my 78 was the sixth highest grade or something like that, whatever it was. By the end of the semester, actually, I'll tell you that in a second. So after class, I went to Dr. Hensley and I said, so just so I'm clear, when we take a test, I have to tell you everything about everything. When you ask an exam, you just don't want a partial answer. I got to tell you everything about everything. And she said yes. And I accepted that as a challenge. And I worked really hard that semester, and I got a B. By the end of the semester, of the 44 people that originally started that class, only 9 of us were there on the last day getting passing grades. And I share that with you to say, if I had been scared, or if I had acted upon my fear and not accepted the challenge, I wouldn't have learned about myself that I can do hard things. Doesn't matter whether I'm scared or not. You have to learn how to do things scared. And ultimately, it led to me getting a master's degree in a psychotherapy license. Ultimately, that led to me getting a master's degree and a psychotherapy license and changed the direction of my life. But it's because I accepted the challenge and I didn't let myself be controlled by my fear. See, the problem isn't the presence of fear. The problem is we let ourselves be controlled by it. So I want you to accept the challenge and lean in and do the things that scare you. I want you to be able to look back over your life and look at times that you were afraid and did things anyway. Because I guarantee you, Ellen, that if you have reached adulthood, there were things you were afraid of that you did them, and then you came on the other side a better person. But we accidentally have a tendency to pay attention to the presence of fear as if there's something wrong. And I want you to pay attention to the fact that fear was present and you did it anyway, and you learned something valuable and amazing, and you came out better, stronger, harder even. So that's the lesson here. It's not about getting rid of fear. It's about getting rid of the control that fear has over you. And when you do that, is you accept the challenge and you get excited about who you will be on the other side of the challenge. So Ellen, I hope that helps you. I hope that changes your perspective. And I hope that allows you to go forward in a way that you could be proud of and pleased with. So thank you, Ellen, for that question. Like, this series cannot exist without your questions. And questions like this one are so important because I know so many people out there have a similar question. So please send me more questions. Leave a comment on this video with your question. Send me a message. Send me a DM. Send me an email with your question. You can send me a text message to 972-426-2640 with your question. And I cannot wait to make a video for you.